Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ancient Aliens in Modern Times. We're your hosts, Stephanie Yelovich and
Melanie Wild. Let's get into it.
Ooh, we have a very, very special episode today. We are going to be discussing different plant medicines today. Specifically, not just plant medicines in general, but I am going to be sharing some of my experiences with said medicines. And full disclosure, this is a very vulnerable conversation for me. I'm happy to share, absolutely, but there is definitely a lot of beautiful things and confronting things that came up in these ceremonies. So I am going to share some of those things, of course, and I hope that in sharing those things, this will be a helpful episode for people considering whether or not to use plant medicine, or they might have, and see their experiences there. And I'm really excited because Mel has some cool stuff to share about ancient plant medicine use and where that's continued today or not. So, okay, here we go.
Okay.
So this
Also,
is
maybe we should just add the caveat to our listeners here is
yeah.
like if you find yourself triggered by these conversations, just go within and ask yourself why. Like, why am I
Mhm.
feeling this way? And there's probably something there for you to go deeper in because Steph and I are doing our very best to come at this from like a neutral position
Mm.
and see the benefits and the consequences that can arise from incorrect or unconscious use of these sorts of things. So, okay, Steph,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I'm
what
gonna go
happened?
in I'm gonna go, I think, in chronological order of when I have worked with these particular medicines. So, I'm going to start with ayahuasca. So ayahuasca is a very popular plant medicine that I'm gonna say probably since the 70s, has started to gain popularity, and definitely in the West we are utilizing this. And I know many people will travel to the regions where ayahuasca originated to experience this medicine. It originated in the Amazon. So it was used by people in Peru, Brazil, Colombia, Ecuador, and the surrounding regions. The word ayahuasca is interesting because it's actually a Quechua word. So this was the ancient language of the Peruvian, or the Incans, I should say. So the indigenous people of Peru. And I like the breakdown of the word because it gives us some information as well about the actual substance and how it's brewed and created for use. So the word aya means spirit, soul, or ancestor, and the word huasca means vine or rope. So for those who understand and know the scientific background, or the scientific name for it, this comes from two main plants. So I'm going to say this Latin word and see what happens. The Banisteriopsis caapi vine. People
Well
who
done.
know plant medicines tell me how I did. And then also the leaves of this particular plant, which are what actually contain the DMT, and this is known as Psychotria viridis. So these two parts of the plant are combined to actually make this plant do the work that it needs to do. It is a nighttime ceremony, which I think is really interesting. The interesting part of this. So this does take place over a full night. It's not a quick flash in the pan ceremony. So when you choose to do this, you're really, you're dedicating yourself to this work. Um, so for many of these cultures, these indigenous cultures, ayahuasca was obviously never viewed as a drug, but it was considered a sacred medicine, a spiritual teacher, a way to communicate with the unseen world. It was also definitely understood that it was a healing tool for the mind, body, and spirit. So my experience with this, I'm going to say this very blankly. I had no business doing ayahuasca. I personally feel that at that time in my life, I was in a very challenging business partnership and situation, and the ceremony was actually not something I planned to do until kind of last minute, which is not at all the way you want to enter a plant ceremony. It is recommended that you fast and purify, not fast like don't eat for 2 weeks, but purify your vessel, avoid alcohol, other things like cannabis, drugs, etc., because you want to enter into this experience pure. And I don't think that I did that. I didn't do that. I'm not going to say I don't think I didn't do that. It is, like I mentioned, a nighttime ceremony, so it takes place in circle throughout the entire night. You lay down. This ceremony gave me the option to drink. You were able to drink just 1 cup. It is a liquid, or you could drink two throughout your ceremony. I did drink two, and I think for me, what was so fascinating when the effects started was that I was seeing things. Like I do see things in meditation. Yes, I have psychic capability to an extent, but I was seeing things with my eyes open. And I think I was so in awe of that experience. But I didn't love what I was seeing. And so I personally was seeing a lot of insects. That was the first thing that started. So I saw them almost crawling throughout the air, and they were all neon colors. So for those who have traveled to Peru or who have worked with shamanism coming from the Cuero teachers, Rebecca, our guest that was on in episode 6, has studied under this form of shamanism. And if you've ever seen their altar cloths that are often neon colors with these cool black kind of geometric shapes that intertwine within each other, those were the colors that I was seeing. So it made me understand where those color schemes were coming from, even for their sacred altar cloths. Obviously, they had experienced similar things because, or I think that's, for me, that's my hypothesis. I'll just say.
Mhm.
So I entered into the ceremony, nighttime ceremony, drank my first cup, was seeing these things. During the ceremony, there are songs sung called Icaros. And what I've learned is that traditionally these songs actually come to the shaman who is leading the ceremony. So they're almost channeled in a way. It's not like there's a book of Icaros that you sing for ayahuasca ceremonies. It's not like a repertoire. So already the people in the ceremony were multiple different people singing these songs, and that was beautiful, but it wasn't led by a shaman, and it was not a shaman that was singing. So,
Mm.
first and foremost, I felt a little bit off about that. I didn't feel unsafe. It didn't feel that it was sacred to everyone in the space. I'll just say it that way. I did drink a second cup halfway through the night, and again, visions continued, but I was seeing a lot of things that I didn't really enjoy. So I was seeing beings that were very warped, and like I saw this almost alien being that was like warty and like he would change form, and it just didn't, I honestly don't know what my purpose was. And so I think I'm going to be honest and say that it was an experience I'm grateful that I had, because it taught me a lot, and it showed me that it is incredibly important to enter into these situations with an intention and also with respect and sacredness. I also found it
Mhm.
shocking that I was asked, the ceremony leader knew that I sang, and they asked me after I drank my second cup if I wanted to sing. I couldn't stand at that point, so why would I get up and start singing, like, opera in the middle of an ayahuasca ceremony? I probably would have sent some other people into psychosis. That's not nice. I'm just joking, but it seemed to be very, I just didn't feel that it was done in a way that would that it could have been incredibly sacred.
Mhm.
Um, and I made it through. I actually did not purge during my ceremony, and I do believe that that's a side effect. I don't, and but when I mean purge, that means vomit or a bathroom trip. So, it was shared with me that often when someone's dealing with great physical issues, that it will be in the bathroom, and someone that's dealing with spiritual issues or trauma or, um I'll just say trauma, that it will often come out as a purge through vomiting. So I did not have that experience. I had some people also in the ceremony that I could tell they were on a ride. Like they were there to have a good time.
Mhm.
And that to me was shocking because it also affected my experience in that I had someone beside me who looked like she wanted to be at a rave. And I was laying there breathing deeply, trying to keep myself calm as I moved through as the DMT moved through my body, we'll just say, or the Aya moved through my body. So it was an experience that I'm grateful for and one that I do not feel I ever need to have again.
Mm. Thank you for
Do you
sharing
have
that,
any
Steph.
questions about that, Mel? No problem.
Yeah, I think that, like I mean, I would like to ask you,
Uh-huh.
like, what like, did you s like, 'cause so people talk about doing ayahuasca and, like, meeting God, right? Like,
Mhm.
that seems to be a very, like, common experience. Like,
Mhm.
did that happen for you?
That was not my experience. I felt like yes, like I said, it was mostly the visuals that I was seeing and the way the visuals would move with the music around me, but it was a light show for me, like, and I truly think a lot of people that are drawn to ayahuasca have dealt with deep, deep trauma, and many of them
Mhm.
have tried over multiple years to eradicate themselves of this trauma and to heal, and sometimes this is the thing. There are heroin addicts that do ayahuasca and completely never touch drugs again. So
Right.
I know that it can have the most powerful and beautiful healing available, but I don't think I needed it. So that's where I feel that you really have to sit with number one, your ceremony leaders or your shaman. It should be a shaman that is leading you through this ceremony.
Mhm.
They need to be well trained. In my understanding, the shaman does drink with the ceremony, participants, which is normal and common, but if you are in this state and you have a room of 35 people,
That's a lot of
that's a
people.
lot of energy to take care of, and this was 2 ceremony leaders, and then there was someone singing the arose and someone else, I believe, using sound instruments, all of which were, things like rain sticks, drum, more indigenous based, no singing bowls or anything like that.
Percussion stuff.
Exactly, and the drum was very activating, I will say. Also, and I'm forgetting the name, there is a very sacred part of it that is involving cleansing with a leaf, and I'm so sorry, I feel ignorant that I didn't research this beforehand. If you are listening and you know, feel free to drop it in the comments, that there is a way of purifying with, this particular like, it's almost like a bushel of leaves. I'm so sorry that I don't know the name,
Is
and
it
so that
smoke?
was also that also happened throughout, and it's not burned, like, it's actually, like,
Oh,
kind of like like it's shaken down your body. It purifies the energy body in the field. Um, Again, more plants doing purification. It's beautiful, right? But, yeah, it was I really truly think it can be for people who really need it, but I think you have to vet your ceremony or your shaman. You need to make sure that the person that's guiding you through this, or multiple people, are trained and authentic. And I yeah, that's very important.
what was the, like, process leading up and then the process of integration after?
Yeah. For me, I was in such a challenging situation in my life that I probably couldn't even tell you the process afterward or the integration because I was in a place of chaos. So
Right,
I remember a friend asking me, "Well, what did you learn from Aya? What did you gain?" And I said, "I honestly don't know." And to this day, I couldn't tell you. And
right.
I'm almost embarrassed to admit that, but I'm a very I'm a very I'm a person of integrity, so I'm not gonna lie. That's
Yeah,
and I don't want this to mar people's view of Aya or, if you feel like you're called to the ceremony. I was always told Aya calls you, right? I wasn't
mhm,
called. I did it because I had an opportunity and I learned, right? And
right.
I probably opened myself up, and I should add this. I definitely opened myself up to negative attachments because it was the years like when you talked about integration, I was probably just moving through what was attached to me now, because I felt like even the space I was in, and like the space was weird after. So, that was just my experience. I don't want to say that it's the mine is the be all and end all, but that was my experience.
Right,
But
and
I
that
do
can
have
be other people's experiences probably can relate to it because I feel like ayahuasca is sold as this, like, amazing, magical,
Mhm,
dark, but like, the things that I've heard about it, because 'cause I've never experienced this, but the things that I've
mhm,
heard about it is it brings you into the darkness where you meet God, and then you're shown what it's all really for, and so when you come back, I think
mhm.
the idea is that you're fully grounded in, like, the sense of, um, like, something so much bigger than you
Mm,
that there's like, you're a part of something so much bigger, and then the world, I think, is supposed to be brighter and easier after that because you
yeah,
become aware of, um, like, God in everything and all things, right?
for sure. I would say, though, the other ceremony that I did experience that was exactly like what you described was my Bufo ceremony. So
Okay.
this is also I'm happy to kinda go into this now. So
Yes.
this is also another this is DMT. Bufo is so beautiful. I had a very, very beautiful experience, and the difference so this one comes from an actual toad. So this comes from the Sonoran desert toad, and it's I don't even know if this means anything to anyone or makes a difference, but this is 5-MeO DMT is what's listed as the substance, and it's extracted from the toad. It's secretions that are basically like defensive mechanisms. It's like a venom or secretions that they gather from around the eyes of the toad. And this the history of this is less clear than ayahuasca. So we know the ancient indigenous roots, and you can research this. There's tons of information, but Bufo less so. And I'm not saying that there weren't indigenous roots. They think that the northern Mexicans and then some of the indigenous tribes of the southwestern United States worked with this medicine, and this is really interesting to me because the way it was offered to me was in a ceremonial setting, which is the way it should be, because I
Mhm.
definitely vetted my practitioner, and I will go into that shortly. This particular toad, as it secretes as it releases these secretions, this is gathered and then dried and kept, and so it was actually I was actually told it was a toad scale, and so this medicine is smoked, and the experience is very different than Aya in that it happens within 15 to 30 minutes and then it's done. So it's very fast and it's very intense, and there just doesn't seem to be as much evidence of a ceremonial lineage as there is of Aya and Kambo, which I'm gonna talk about as well. Um and so the Bufo ceremony that I experienced, I entered into this because this was after that whole time of my life after I had done and experienced Aya, and then I moved through a really, really challenging time. I dissolved my business, I dissolved the partnership, and or sorry, that hadn't happened yet. This was the catalyst in dissolving that.
Mm.
Excuse me,
Right.
I got my timeline wrong. So I did my Kambo ceremony first and then Bufo after, but I will go into the Bufo ceremony. Basically, what's really cool, and this is gonna come back to the vetting of the practitioner, I had to fill out a very extensive form when I decided to do this, and even questions were asked like, "What's your favorite flowers?" Because those flowers were brought into the ceremony, which was just so beautiful. I was also asked about my background and my DNA, like my heritage, because that determines how the medicine or how much medicine one would need. So I was told by my practitioner, I giggle because I am Eastern European background and a quarter Irish, but Serbian and Croatian. And she said, "Oh, yeah, you're one of those Eastern Euro-Nordic beings." I don't know if I'm Nordic, maybe somewhere down the line, but those Vikings got around, so we don't know. But basically what she was denoting is you might need more medicine. So that's something even really super important to note, right? My practitioner's not going to, and I say in quotes, overdose me or not give me enough medicine in that the ceremony wouldn't be what I needed it to be. And she did
Mhm.
notify me that once I had my first dose, she said, "You will know if you're coming out of it quickly because you'll just start to be back in your body and you can let me know and I can give you more medicine." So I did need to ask for more. As soon as I inhaled, have you guys have you guys ever seen a depiction of, when someone goes on a mushroom trip or they go on a DMT trip and, like, there's multiple, like, the person is standing there, and as they move, there's multiple versions of them that kind of stay behind, and
Like
everything is
freeze
kind of, like,
frame?
separated and slow. Yep, yep.
Yep.
So, the way that I think about it, if you've ever seen the movie, Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny. I'm so dating myself. It's Jack Black and Kyle Gass, and he gets lost in the forest and eats some mushrooms which we're gonna get into shortly, but eats some mushrooms because he's super hungry, and of course, they're magic mushrooms. And they literally show this where he starts to move, or a butterfly flies away, and then there's, like, 7 butterflies trailing, like, auras trailing behind the butterfly. That's truly what it looks like when you enter into that state. So your practitioner supports you to lay down. It is immediate that you need to lay down or that I needed to lay down. And I entered into this, my goal and my intention was to remove grief. My father passed when I was 7, and then basically from 7 until 27, I had lots of loss in my life, and I had many people pass away, one being my best friend who was my age at 20. Well, I wasn't 27 at the time, but she passed when she was 27, so I had a grief cloud just kind of hanging over my head that I hadn't quite transmuted fully, and that was my goal, was to enter in to connect, to hear the messages I needed to hear so that I could release that and move forward, and
Mm,
it was so beautiful, and I'm gonna get emotional
mhm,
because I definitely felt like I was connected to that source, and I heard my father, and maybe it was my highest self, maybe it was him, I don't know, but I heard him say, and this is so simple, but it changed everything for me, and he said, "You are everything you need."
aw,
And when I heard that, I realized that I was connected to, 2 people in my life that were very narcissistic and were basically sucking off of me. I was overgiving. I was in a situation that was sucking me dry and breaking my heart daily, and that it was just time, and that I, Stephanie, could take care of myself, could be the person that I needed to be so that I could thrive. And that was the catalyst. That was me realizing, oh my God. And for me, that really did show that God was within me, that I was
mhm,
hearing, and I'm not saying again that, like, I saw God, but I saw my highest self through that medicine, and it was
mhm,
so beautiful, and yes, of course, there were beautiful visuals, lots of, like, geometry, mandalas, and I very honestly had to really tell myself, because it's very intense and very emotional, I had to tell myself to stay connected to my breath. So the entire time I focused on breathing because
mhm,
I just wanted to stay, well, safe, but I wanted to stay connected. And so during the ceremony, your ceremony practitioner and your leader is with you. So they sing a little bit to you as well, as the same as ayahuasca, and I almost lost it. Well, and I wonder if that's why I thought it was my dad speaking, because all of a sudden she started singing "You Are My Sunshine." And that was something my dad and my mom used to sing to me. So, it definitely brought me to a
mhm,
place that and to a message that I needed to hear. And the coming out of it truly is you feel like you're coming back into your body and that all of those things start to kind of fade away. Um, I will also say throughout, when I receive energy work or, when I do breath work, I tend to be twitchy. I wiggle a lot and I let energy release through my feet. I wiggle, I shift. So a lot of that was also happening with the Bufo. And I knew it was to do spirit work. It was not just for the physical. And there were 2 quotes that I read when I was researching a little bit about the information about Bufo, and these 2 experiences or these 2 quotes, I would say, really summed up a lot of my experience. One being an intense experience of ego dissolution and unity consciousness. So, yes, I experienced that. 2, it was an invitation to the infinite.
Mm.
So, I would say absolutely. Um, this is a medicine I would definitely say is beautiful if you feel called to it. Do your research about your practitioner. That's my only advice, is make sure the person that's guiding you knows what they are doing and can help you before, during, and after.
Yeah, it's not just a business.
No. And this practitioner saved her own life using Kambo. She actually she had a staph infection from a hospital visit, and Kambo and Bufo are pretty, like, they're buddies. I would say one is physical healing, which is the Kambo. Bufo is the psychoactive component. And, this practitioner started serving these medicines because one, saved her life, Kambo, and then she experienced a Bufo ceremony where people were literally given the medicine and then left to fend for themselves. And she went, I was told by the medicine, I have to go learn how to serve this because there are people being, like, probably thrown into psychosis,
Yeah.
and this is part of this.
Because it's like, okay, we're going into this and we're thinking everything is just like light and love, but what we don't understand or haven't been prepared for is that what if it's not? What if that
Yeah.
isn't my experience? And
Mm.
I was looking up stats,
Mm.
specifically ayahuasca. So this could be different for Bufo and Kambo, but
Sure.
because I've heard about people coming back from an ayahuasca ceremony and going into psychosis.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was looking up stats when I was doing my research for this episode, and it says that 55 to 56% of users of ayahuasca report some negative mental health effects after, and 12% of those 55% seek professional help.
Hmm.
And then the
That's a big
severe
number.
it's huge. It's over half. Over half
Wow.
of the people that are using this come home and report negative mental health going
Mm.
forward. Now, psychosis specifically is where it's like a detachment from the self and you can't land back, which is interesting because you say with your experience, you're focusing on your breath to keep you present in the body, which is
Yeah.
something that only someone would know how to do that has done their research and has been like actively on their spiritual path, mastering meditation, and out of body experiences through things like
Mm.
breath work. It's not like something that like you just like show up to an ayahuasca ceremony and never have done even breath work before, right? Because it's like anyway, so severe
Yeah.
reactions like psychosis, like your literal soul leaving your body and no place to land back, is 4.4%. Now, an even worse stat, from 1994 to 2022, there were reported 58 deaths from
Mm.
ayahuasca. Death.
And I wonder too, because I was doing a little bit of reading about that same fact, was this just when people experienced the ceremonies in the West? Or was it because people do travel to the Amazon and places to experience this, and I researched and noticed that in those countries, there is no regulation on ayahuasca.
That's right.
So that means if somebody falls into a river after they've or while they're on, they're in their ceremony or after, and it doesn't get reported, well, so those are like things to think about, right? It's not something to be taken lightly. It's not
That's
trendy. and it's not you're not cool because you did it, you know?
38 times.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was like you'll, like, hear people that have used this medicine, I don't know if this is judgmental or not, but it seems so unnecessary to use that more than
mhm.
once. Like,
I'm
to
gonna be judgmental, there are people addicted to ayahuasca. There were people in the room I was in, it was a party, and you could tell that they did it over and over and over again because they were addicted to it.
because they wanted the trip.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
And
sorry.
it's like
Fully being
and, like,
judgmental
other
right
things that
now.
I've read about it is that, like, in, like, traditional before this, like, medicine was ever even heard of in the Western world, but in traditional practice, if someone went to the shaman in seek of help, whether it be through spirit, mind, body, whatever it may be that they're
Mhm,
asking the shaman for help for, they themselves didn't use the medicine. The shaman would use it and
mhm,
tap into that frequency and then report back what they saw to
bingo.
their client, patient, whatever you may call them, right? It
Yep,
was never something that was traditionally used, by the person seeking healing. It was the shaman
yes,
that would go in and use this to, quote, unquote, "connect to God,"
mhm,
and see what the wisdom was being brought forward. They were like the intermedium between
yes,
because the medicine can be so dangerous.
and they are equipped, right? So they've trained, they've been born into this work that their life's work, and they can handle these medicines or work with these medicines because they are trained extensively to do so.
Mhm.
So, I think that's a really good point you brought up, actually.
Yeah, it's like so can do you feel complete with sharing your experiences, or did you wanna share
Yeah.
about
Do you want me to share a little bit about Kambo because it's
Yeah,
not psychoactive, or do we wanna
yeah.
do that after?
No, go for it,
Okay,
let's hear it.
okay. Sure. So this one I do actually think can be a very powerful medicine. Again, when it's sought out with the right practitioner and people. So Kambo, similar to Bufo, actually comes not from a toad, but a frog, and the frog is not hurt in the making of this film, just kidding. It is not hurt or harmed or killed to receive the secretions, their secretions from the back of the frog. I keep wanting to say toad. And this is done, the tree sorry, the I wanna say the name of the frog, I'm trying to find it. Here we are. Oh, yes. The frog is called, I wanna practice my Latin, Philomedusa bicolor. That was
Mm.
terrible. Okay. And so the secretion is
Medusa.
collected carefully, and it doesn't harm the frog. So what happens is it's dried and it's kept on these wooden kind of sticks or slats that they have. And so what I think is so cool is the way it's administered. And this medicine was originally done, I should say. This medicine was originally used before a hunt, and it was also used to purify your physical body and to bring clarity and focus. And we will see going forward that it can also be a significantly healing substance for multiple illnesses and diseases, not just spiritual or energetic blocks. And it's administered using actual burn marks. So they take a little end of almost like a dowel, and they create little burn marks on different places on the body. And these are called gates. And the gates are basically the entry point for the medicine to enter into the bloodstream and into the body. And the medicine is combined with, I do believe, the saliva. I think it was my saliva. I'm trying to remember, or if it was the practitioner's. I think it was mine, which is even more sacred. It's combined and created in little mounds that are then placed on the gates. And then very quickly after they're placed, the medicine starts to move its way through the bloodstream and you can start to feel it working. What I found really beautiful, and again about the practitioner, and why it's important is because there are different points and different places on the body for healing different ailments or spiritual blocks, also called panemas or panemas,
Okay.
but panema, which is like a spiritual block or stagnation, and spelled Panema. And I was given the choice because it was my first time experiencing this medicine to have 3 points placed on my ankle, which is the feminine energy or the feminine points, they say. It does not mean you have to have that because you're a woman. It's just the energy. So
Right.
3 points on the ankle is the feminine spot, and then 5 points on the left arm is the masculine energy or masculine spot. My intuition told me to choose the 5 on my arm, so that is what I decided, and my practitioner agreed. And then basically, once they'd mixed the medicine and prepared it, it's placed on the gates, and I could almost immediately feel the medicine moving through my body as it was placed there. And the experience was pretty quick in that I started to feel feverish. So I should say this medicine is not psychoactive. So the goal is to purge. And I know Mel, you were saying you don't enjoy purging. Not
Oh
that
my
anybody
god.
chooses to,
If Joni's
but you don't
listening to this,
enjoy that
she's laughing because
sensation?
I'm the worst puker. It's awful, I cry. I hate it. I would
Yeah.
hate this.
My Reiki master said that. She's like, "My husband dealt with the puke, I dealt with the poop." And I'm like, "I get it, it's cool." So, not everybody can handle, but apparently I could because I did this. So the goal is to purge. Before you enter or the medicine is placed on, you are also administered, sanaga, which is placed in your eyes, and this is to help you see clearly. And then to trigger a purge if the person is not purging, rapé is sometimes used. And for those who don't know, rapé is a powdered tobacco that is often blended with rose, different flowers, different woods, etc. And it's basically like shot up the nose, and so it's very intense. Not psychoactive or anything, but it will trigger a purge, and it definitely did for me. The hardest part of the ceremony is the amount of water you have to chug quickly at the beginning. So when the medicine is placed, my practitioner said, "Okay, start chugging. Drink more, more, more." And I had to keep drinking water because as you purge, the water is allowing and you can see the color of what's coming out. I'm so sorry if this is grossing anybody out, and it gives you some information as well, but the whole point is that you have water and things to help you purge, to help get the stuff out of your body with the medicine supporting. The other powerful thing about Kambo is it contains peptides. So I do not know the exact ones for those who know about peptides and their powerful healing capabilities. But that is one of the active components of it that people seek out for healing. So basically, I think my ceremony lasted approximately it's about an hour with the administering of the gates or applying the medicine to the gates, drinking the water, and then the beginning of the purge. And it is called warrior medicine. Very much for a reason. Yes, because they did it before they went on a hunt and for healing, but because you truly are a warrior when you step into working with this medicine. You are feverish, you are hot, you do feel like you have not even a flu, but you feel like you have a fever. And then what's really cool is as soon as you wipe off the medicine and you take it off the gates, it's done. So you have great control, or your practitioner has great control in how you can experience the medicine. It's really cool. One side effect that some people do get is they call it frog face, where the face actually bloats and like looks like a big poofy frog. That did not happen for me. Thankful. It did happen for a friend of mine who was in the ceremony, but it went down fairly quickly. It didn't last long. And your practitioner would guide you into how to deal with that and integrate that. But to prepare, you must fast, you must not smoke cannabis, you must not drink alcohol, and afterwards, 30 days of no substances, which was very hard. And I don't know if I made it fully to the 30, but I was able to maintain the majority and to stay pure. And I will say that I gained great clarity, and physically I could feel areas where I held pain and energetic stagnation, and that went away after Kambo, which was incredible.
all like, you just puke your guts out and, like, you don't see anything?
You do. It's like I said, it's not psychoactive, but I definitely for me, it was the clarity afterward and absolutely the physical healing. So, like I said, that practitioner that worked with me or that I worked with, she saved her life with Kambo from the staph infection. So many people who have been diagnosed with cancer will do Kambo. It's a parasitic killer as well. Basically, it just kills all the baddies. I could go on, but I won't because I don't know I don't know the entire list of all the 4,000 things that does. But it is a physical healing medicine. So it is
Okay.
about the physical. And if you can think about it, as you are purging and it's physical, but it is releasing energetic blocks, right? Because as we purge the physical body, it's going to affect the energetic and the auric field. So for me, it almost felt like the primer that took me into my Bufo ceremony. So it's like I purified myself, I cleaned my body, I released stagnation that maybe could have gotten in the way or affected my Bufo ceremony. Right? I
Yeah.
kind of attribute the Kambo ceremony the day before to making my Bufo ceremony so powerful and successful.
Oh, you did them back to back.
Yes. I think one was on a Friday and one was on a Saturday.
You set the demons free.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like I said, like, my life changed after that in the best way, and I had clarity. So, yeah. I feel like I
Cool.
need to do it again? No, I'm good. Maybe Kambo in the future, but Bufo, I don't know. I don't think so right now.
Right.
So, yeah.
Cool. I would hate that.
Cool.
I would
Yeah,
hate
I
that
know.
so much.
Yeah, it may not be the medicine for you, my love.
I would cry. I would be wiping it off my arm the second I started to feel
You do have
feverish,
a big
like,
bucket they tell you to bring. You gotta
"Oh,
bring your
yeah.
purge bucket. Yeah, you gotta bring your purge bucket, you have to have your
Oh
huge
my
liter
god."
of water. They again, you are supported by it if you have an amazing practitioner, that will
I'm,
help
like,
you.
flashing back to my university days. I
Yeah,
went on this,
we've
like,
learned.
ski trip with all these university children, and
Oh
this
my
chick was, like, running around with her chunder bucket in the
god.
hotel
Ladies and
from the
gentlemen,
alcohol poisoning. Okay. Can't remember what her
we
name
call
was.
that growth, that we don't do that
Add the
anymore. That's
chunder bucket
growth.
to your Kambo
Wow,
bucket. Um,
wow. See, we don't speak from nothing, my friends. We speak from the darkness that we lived in in our ute.
okay. So, thank you for sharing your experiences
You're
because I think it's
welcome.
an important aspect for the listeners to like really hear where you're coming from and like now you all know where I'm coming from too is like I have not done any of this.
Sure. And thank
I
you for
have
being open.
I have been presented with opportunities
Mhm.
to participate in plant medicine ceremonies, and I have always considered them, but there's always been something within me that said no.
Sure,
Um, yeah, and it's always just been a no, for me personally, and, I just honor that inner no, and I've done
sure.
some research for the episode, and I'm, like,
Mm.
been, like, super excited because, when we talk about all of these things that are, like, quote, unquote, "trendy," because, I do find that they have become trendy, right? It's like
Yeah, oh, for sure.
yeah, like the woo-woo, new age spiritual community is, like, all about drugs. Um,
Mhm. An
and
ecstatic
pushing
dance with cacao.
ecstatic
Sorry.
dance with cacao and, like, ice baths and, like, pushing your body, your mind, and your soul to its absolute fucking limits, to meet God. Like, it just seems so extreme when
Agree.
y and, like, it seems so extreme to, like, do these things with that intent when you can just, like, sit down and meditate, and it be harder, right? Like, lots of people are like, "I can't meditate, I get distracted, I start thinking about all the things that I need to get done, and I start stressing about, like, the thing that I said to that person at the checkout line, like, 2 weeks ago, and I
Yeah.
can't get out of my head," right? And so, like, I can't meet God in meditation because my mind is too busy. And, like,
Hmm.
that is the work right there. It's like
Correct.
that is it. Lean in and sit in the stillness as long as it takes for the
Mhm.
mind to shut off. Like, if that's 2 hours, it's 2 hours. Like,
Yeah.
you have to be willing to sit in that uncomfortable to
Mm.
get to that point, and, like, people aren't willing to do that, so they're like, "You know what? I'm just gonna skip that, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna go and do some ayahuasca," and
And
then what
raging
happens.
high.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna get high, and I'm gonna puke my guts out. Would I just couldn't do it. I can't puke. It comes out my nose, like, I'm
Oh.
it's awful. It's not pretty. Joni cannot handle it. I don't puke very much anymore because I don't drink or do drugs that induce vomit.
Again,
Um,
growth.
not interested. But, anyway, so it's like, what happens if you've not, like, fully prepared your vessel
Mm.
to enter these states of, like, extreme, like, on the edge of, like, life, right? Like, you can die, right, from this. Um, if you've not prepared yourself to get to that extreme level, then you're also, like, opening yourself up. Like, yes, you're opening yourself up to meet God, to meet your higher self, to meet your guides and your soul group on the other side. Like, you're opening yourself to this spirit realm, but, like, there's not just love and light in the spirit realm. Like, there's not just good guys. There's also dark forces that are like, "Oh, this person hasn't properly prepared themselves. This person, is currently in a very, very dark space, and because they're in a very dark space, they're very easy to deceive." And so
Correct.
these dark entities can show up in these spaces where you've now opened your vessel, and they can come into you, and you won't even know it, right? Until your life
Mhm.
starts, like, falling apart after the fact,
Mhm.
because they're now at the helm. But so I was just, like, really fascinated, like, because it's something that's, like, very, trendy in modern day to do these things, but, like, where does it, like, really come from? And when we talk about our creation stories and we talk about, like, the bigger picture of what's happening in the world, what did the ancients use this medicine for? Because surely they must have, right? Like, everything is
For sure.
cyclical. Yeah.
Mhm.
And so I was brought to 2 different cultures, in my research on this. And one I'm, like, a little bit more familiar with, and then the other, feels pretty foreign to me, so I'll start with the foreign one, which
Mm.
is the Vedic. And it's well documented, that they use this drink called soma, and so soma is referred to both the medicine and the god. So they basically call the
Mm.
medicine a god, right, within their
Interesting.
pantheon. And it's in their Rig Veda uh, literature. And so this was used. It sounds very similar to ayahuasca, and it's a psychoactive, um, medicine, and so it was used in ceremony, whenever ceremony needed to take place, so it wasn't, like,
Hmm.
based on some sort of seasonal timeline. Now, in the Greek, culture, this links back to the Eleusinian Mysteries. And so the
Mm.
Eleusinian Mysteries were a festival. So the festival was broken into 2 days, or 2 stages. And so there was called the lesser and the greater. And so the lesser took place in the spring, around the equinox. and then the greater took place in the fall around the equinox. So what happened was these mysteries were based around honoring Demeter and her story with her daughter Persephone being taken into the underworld to be married to Hades. And this so Persephone was Demeter's daughter, and she was also Zeus's daughter, and now Zeus and
Mm.
Demeter were wed, but they were also brother and sister. So and Hades was Zeus's brother, right? So, like, we get into
Yes.
this, like, these gods, quote, unquote, "gods," where they're, maintaining a specific bloodline, right? They wanna keep this blood pure. So, anyway, so Demeter has Persephone, and she's a great mom. She's the goddess of fertility, and she, loves her daughter, and then her daughter is taken from her, and she goes searching for 9 days looking for her daughter. She ends up in the town Eleusinian, and, disguises herself as not a god, right, as a regular folk, and then she ends up as, like, a handmaid. I don't know if that's the right word, but, like, a nanny, I
Mhm.
guess, would be the
Yep.
modern day term for this family, and then eventually tells them who she really is, and then they ask her if they'll give their child immortality. She's unable to do so because she's still grieving her own daughter, so her powers have been diminished. So basically, they go to make a plea with Zeus to say, "Can you please bring Persephone back so that Demeter can have her powers back?" And then Zeus agrees at a compromise, basically saying that Persephone can come back every spring for 6 months of the year, but then she must return to Hades in the underworld every fall, which
Mm.
brings us the timeline of these Eleusinian mysteries
Interesting.
being held at the start of spring and at the beginning of winter, right? A 6-month time gap. Now, what they were doing in this festival in the lesser, it was less of a big deal in the lesser in the spring than it was at the end. So in the fall, it was a huge thing. But in the spring, it was based in Athens, and there was approximately 3,000 initiates every year that would come, and
Wow.
it was more of like, um, symbolic acts of purification, so, like, fasting, giving up things that, were maybe not good for you anymore, but it was a
Mm.
gathering, and then and, like, symbolically, in at that time of the year, this is when Persephone would reappear, and then, all would be good, right? Because Demeter is happy now, and then she brings life back to the world with her fertility.
Mm.
And then you fast forward to the fall and the greater mysteries, and these initiates would walk. So this festival would take place for 9 days to symbolize the 9 days that Demeter looked
Mm.
for Persephone. They would walk from Athens to Eleusinian, which I didn't look up how many kilometers that was, but it sounds like it was a great
I'll look it up.
deal. Um, and they would walk from Athens to Eleusinian, and then they would get there and they would fast, right? So they would purify the body by emptying the vessel of any food, and then they would bring offerings of barley. Now, um what they would drink, so they would have this, like, whole thing, and then I can't remember on what day it was, but towards the end, they would go into this temple space, and they would drink, what was called the, kykeon, and it was a mixture of barley that was said to have, like mushroom growth, like it was moldy, right?
Mhm.
So water and then another herb. And so what they were drinking in this kykeon is something that was psychoactive and, potentially like a DMT, um, drink, okay? And so the temple space was called the Telesterion. And,
Mm.
at this point, everything is a secret of what would take place in this inside this temple. Um, and it's said to be the temple of Demeter. So, like, if I rewind a little bit back when she was, in this once she came out to this family that she was nannying, and revealed her true self, they then built a temple for her, and that was where this would take place every year,
Wow.
was in her actual temple. So once they would enter this temple space, they would drink this kykeon. They'd probably get high as shit.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and then, you never like, it's never described what happened inside. So but what was said,
Wow.
because it's a secret too, but what was said of the people that would return, is that they would go through a potis, a potis, and the Greek word meaning those who have seen. Uh
Ah.
yeah, those have who seen, and, like, it was this, um, induction of ego dissolution where
Mm.
it very much sounds where it was like and then you would be perceived to have contact with divine reality. So
Yes.
it sounds very similar to an ayahuasca journey of, like, going to experience death and rebirth. Right? Where
Wow.
you go in, you experience, like like the separation of the egoic self, right?
Yeah.
Which is like your name, your like what you've been named in this
Sure.
world in this lifetime. That is part of your ego because you are not just Stephanie. I am not just Melanie, but that is the
Mhm.
attachment to the self in this lifetime. But like
Mm.
we've had so many. And so it's like it's this death of this version of ourselves and then this like meeting of God, the infinite, right?
Mm.
And then realizing your connection to the infinite and then you return a whole new person. Uh yeah,
Wow.
and so um yeah,
It's interesting to see the commonalities between all of these medicines, and there is a great death and rebirth theme that seems to show up here, like, parts of you die in those
totally.
ceremonies, you receive the messages after purifying and preparing, and then you move forward and leave that part of you behind. Wow,
Yeah.
that's powerful. I've heard of that wine, by the way, that interesting moldy drink that
Kaikion?
Kaikion that you just yeah.
Kaikion, yeah,
Yeah, and I looked it
moldy
up.
barley.
I love it, delicious. I looked it up too from Illusion to Athens. It is approximately 20 to 23 kilometers or 13 miles, so it's about half an hour to 40 minutes to and so not a terribly long walk, but they did it.
Oh, yeah.
That was how far.
That's not that long. Um, but yeah, so then I was, like, looking at, like, the parallels of, like, if we go back to, like, the players that we've talked about within the Egyptian pantheon and the Sumerian pantheon, um,
Mm,
Demeter is or Persephone, her qualities, she's like a similar being as Inanna, Isis, and Sophia.
yes.
Um, yeah, and so, like, what I know about Sophia is, like, she's the goddess of wisdom.
Mm,
She's our true creator, and, like, if you look at her story, it is a lot about her fall, right? And, like, her
yes.
desire yeah, like, her desire to create something physical overpowers, her the rules, right? Overpowers that, like,
Yeah.
you know, the monad said, "No, you cannot create without equal parts male and female," and she creates
Uh-huh.
anyway. And so, yeah, it's interesting, because it is about her fall, right? Where she creates the demiurge, Yaldabaoth, and then he is
Yeah.
evil and awful. And then she returns to that garden and brings the wisdom forward again to set those souls free, right? So it's like Persephone returning once a year to bring that wisdom to be like, look, there's more than this, and here's the information, right? So the
Wow.
symbol of this like kakion or like kykeon, this drink, to the psychoactive drink, which could be also ayahuasca, could also be bufo, is like this like wisdom that's bringing forward, but in order to, like, bring this wisdom forward, you first have to go into, like, a painful state, whether it's, like,
Yeah.
physically purging, right? Um, and so I just thought it
Yeah.
was really interesting that, this has been done. And, oh, and, like, for the timeline, for those wondering, the Eleusinian Mysteries, I don't know how to pronounce anything, um, they took place, so 100 years before Christ and 500 years after Christ, and then at that mark, they the Roman Empire shut it down because it was, yeah, heresy. Absolutely not can you be, honoring the seasons and doing DMT.
Well, and it's so interesting we're having this conversation on Beltane. Today is a
Oh,
very sacred day in the Celtic pagan, teachings where we are welcoming summer. This is like the, "Hey, we're almost here, yay!" And,
yeah.
it's a beautiful like, today is a very special day, and, friends, if you follow I can't remember the name of the astrology, but the regular astrology that most people know, today is a full moon in Scorpio. So this is a very powerful day we're recording on as we talk about these plant medicines. Just saying, and these were pagan medicines, right? So it's I don't think it's a coincidence.
Yeah, and yeah, so, I mean, I think that, like, these tools can be used, for good when used honorably and intentionally and appropriately,
Yes.
but I don't think that they're necessary. I think you can meet God, in your living room, um
Yes.
yeah, and I think that honestly, that's the harder way to do it, and so, I think that if
Yeah.
you and, like, that's the way that I've done it, right? Like, I haven't gone down this
Mhm.
path while I have been presented opportunities to. Every
Uh-huh.
time I've leaned in, I'm like, I don't feel like it's necessary. Like, I just feel like I have meditated enough to trust that the wisdom that's coming through when I reach those states of total emptiness,
Mm,
is God. And, like, I receive these, like, really powerful messages that bring me to my knees in tears, like,
mm,
where I just, like, I know I feel safe, I know I feel held, and that, this is also the work that I've studied within the Essene community and what Yeshua was teaching. And,
yeah.
and like Yeshua, he taught within this community of the Essenes is that you can reach these states of transcendence, of connection to the divine of the all, through fasting and through purification. And so, like, if you read
Mm,
the Essene Gospel of Peace, he talks about how to do enemas, right? And how to like
yeah.
and he says how to clean the inside of your vessel from the demons,
Mhm.
right? And so it's
Interesting.
like, yeah, it's like you can do this without psychedelics, and have just as profound experiences. It just requires the dedication. Go ahead.
Yeah, you just made me think of something that is exactly what you're describing. Breath work, my friends.
Yes.
So I don't know if you're aware, but we have naturally occurring DMT in the lungs. So when you activate your lungs using more heliotropic breath work, so like the open mouth breathing, that's a very activating way of breathing, you can get high on your own brand. Like it's actually that simple, very honestly. So we can do this with breath work even as
Yes.
another tool that's always accessible to you,
And I have done that.
and it's awesome.
And it is awesome, and it's difficult because it's
Yes.
like to get to that point of, like, really releasing that DMT, it's like an hour of, like,
Yeah.
crazy breath work where it's like
Open mouth breathing.
yeah, yeah,
Whew.
and, like, intense, like, it's like you're in, you breathe into it's like hyperventilating on purpose,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
imagine when I first learned this, like, technique of breath work, it was, like, after I had my first child who's 9 now, and, I was like, "This is just like the breathing that they teach you to do when you're in labor." It's like
Yeah. Well,
you breathe in
interesting.
twice, right? You're like,
Mhm.
into the lungs, into the belly, and then
Yep.
out through the mouth, like
Yep.
it's really intense, and you do it for an hour straight, and
Yep.
you're high on your own supply, man.
And even more so, there's shamanic breath work, which is still heliotropic, but what I've experienced is ceremonies where you're open mouth breathing for 50 minutes, and you're doing like like full on open mouth. And I'm telling you, I often would leave my body. And there were times where I wouldn't be breathing for I don't know how long. And then all of a sudden my physical body would go, okay, well, maybe we shouldn't make her heart stop and we'll just kick her back into gear here. And then I would come back into my body and my breath pattern would continue. So
Mm.
no, friends, I think we should do an episode in the future on breath work coming soon
Yeah, if there's
because,
any, breathwork facilitators that are listening, that
oh,
would be a fun guest to have. Um,
yeah,
because, yeah, like, the breathwork that I've done has always been through a facilitator too, because like, it's like working out, like,
for sure.
I
You
need
have
someone
you
to
need
yell
support
at me and tell me to stop trying to give up.
for sure.
Um
You were like, you just wanted to mention. Got it.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that, like, it
Yeah,
is
yeah.
recorded there, and it's
Cool.
extensively recorded there, so it's like
Awesome.
it's well known that, like, this was a thing that they used,
Mhm.
and there was no cover up there, um, so
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, like, the ancients were using this, to access these divine realms, and I think to each their own. I think if this is, like, a way that you want to access this divine realm, I think a lot of it, like Steph has said, is the preparation, is, like, choosing the
Mhm.
appropriate facilitator. Don't just do it because it's trendy, do it because you truly feel called and you've
Yes.
done the work beforehand, right? Like,
Mhm.
and then the work of integration because it's like,
Yes.
you go and you see these, like, different realms, and then you've gotta land back in this 3rd dimension and pay your taxes. That can
Yeah.
be
Correct.
discombobulating, right?
Yes.
Yeah, where and you could reach this, like, point of, like, well, what is the point? What like, none of
Yes.
this really even matters. Um, and then that
Absolute.
can be problematic.
Correct. And for those who want to get back into their body, Melanie just released a
Hmm.
really beautiful new Earth Reiki treatment offering for our subscribers only list. So if you are not on that list yet and you feel called to receive some healing episodes throughout the month, please do check it out. You have to sign up through the actual episode link. But I really love what you offered, Melanie, because it was just we talk a lot about leaving our body, but we still have to be in the 3D and pay taxes. So, you know, if you need some support getting into your body to do those things, please check out this newest healing episode that was released this week. And we are coming up on time. Well, we're over
Yeah.
time, but it's very easy for us to do. So anything else, Mel, that you wanted to share before we kind of wrap her up?
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful, segue is like, we don't have to enter the astral state ever at all in this lifetime because when you perish and you shall pass, you will be right back in that place of divine light and love. And so like, you came to this world and as like dark and as challenging as it can be, there's so much joy, so much love, so many good things to be grateful for and to experience in this physical third dimension. And perhaps the most spiritual thing you can do today is just be in the 3D. That's it. That's what
And
I have.
so it is.
So
I
it
love
is.
it.
Beautiful.
Thank you, thank you, thank you for that. Thank you, my friends, for being with us today. And thank you for receiving these vulnerable experiences that we have shared today, that I have shared.
Hmm.
If you are feeling like you would like to support the podcast, please don't forget to like and give us a 5-star review if you feel so inclined. Thank you,
Yes.
thank you, thank you. And may peace
Mm.
be with you.
May peace be with you.